Hey guys, this is Matt Core from ctrl+paint.com, and today we're going to continue on our complicated background by putting a little bit of photo texture into the image. And when it comes to putting in photo texture in an image like this one, having done this layout work with smart objects is going to start paying off. So the silo is where we are going to begin. And I'll start with this big one here in the foreground, but remember they're all clones of the same thing. Now I've gone ahead and gotten some textures from cgtextures.com and I've modified them a little bit. And what I've got are two different things. I have a base texture and I also have some panel borders. And then I've also modified them with the levels command to make sure that their levels are hovering around the 50% value. You can see here there's a little dark and a little light, but it's mainly a midtone. The same is true for this one. And the reason I want that is because I'm going to be using the overlay blending mode. And the way overlay works is it won't change the major value of my image as long as these textures are essentially midtones. So I'm going to start out by bringing both of them into my document here. Now you'll notice that they are the wrong shape. So I'm going to make an overlays group, put both of them in it, and then I'm going to try and make this shape as a mask. And the way I'll do that is just control click on my layer, and there I have the selection. So I can apply that as a layer mask to my overlays layer. Now, as we've talked about in previous videos, I want to set the layer groups blending mode to overlay, and then leave the individual layers themselves as normal blending mode. And this just means there's not going to be sort of bad overlapping at work. But I'm just going to combine these using opacity till I get kind of the look I'm going for. Now you'll notice that I've got some panel borders going up here onto the roof, and I don't want that. Well, for this sort of thing, I love using layer masks. So I'll add an empty mask to the layer, switch to the paintbrush here, and then just using black, I can paint out where I don't want it. This is also another nice way to just sort of vary up the opacity a little bit. Here I'm just painting with sort of big, soft brush strokes to just make it a little more variety. Because sometimes when you use photo texture, it can look too obvious. But what we want is subtlety. We want to make sure that it is nice and incorporated into the final image. Now another thing I might want to do is add a big stripe. Now, in this case, I don't want it to be an overlay. I want it to be multiply. So the way I can do that is I can make a new layer, set it to be multiply, and then I'll just make a solid rectangle and make my fill. Now you can see there's an issue. Here it's going over the boundary and we want it to be silo shaped. So here I can just set this multiply layer to be a clipping mask, and there it fits perfectly on top of my silo. And this is very handy because I do need to free transform it a little bit just to make sure that it kind of matches this cylindrical shape. If it were too flat, it would ruin the perspective and our illusion would be blown. So if I'm happy with that, I'm going to want to integrate it a little bit better. So once again, I'll make a new mask, and with black, sort of add a little variety, a little wear and tear. After all this is in the desert, it's not going to be perfect. And once I'm happy with that, I just hit save, and my other document is updated. Again, this is non-linear painting. And there's really never a moment where I can no longer go backwards. With this way, I can always go backwards. And a great opportunity to do that is when I want to integrate these ladders into their surroundings. Now you'll notice the ladders are fine, they just don't have any shadows behind them. Well, we need to change that. So a great way to do that is to actually go back to the ladder files themselves. So here, I can make below the ladder just sort of a soft airbrush shape that is my paint. So to give myself a little more visibility, I'm just going to make a temporary fill here just so I can see what I'm doing. And here I'm just going to go ahead and paint however I want those shadows to look. So I want a little bit of variety, maybe a little darker near the bottom, a little lighter near the top. Get that in about so. Hide the background, hit save, and you can see now that I have those shadows baked right into the image. And all the ladders have the same shadow. So now you've seen how I can make each of the smart objects look better. This is where they start to look realistic and feel more like a painting. But we still have the problem that they're all identical. They don't really fit into the image as a whole. So in the next video, I'm going to talk about how to really integrate them and how we can make it start to really feel like a painting. So stay tuned, and thanks for coming to the site, guys.